Here's an interesting one. I'm going to show you a page from the South Carolina budget. I know, very exciting stuff here. This is a page from the 2022-2023 proposed budget in South Carolina. This is what Republicans. Let me fix that right here. Here we go. This is what Republicans in South Carolina proposed last year. And the thing I want to highlight here, this is on page 443 of this very large thing. They're saying here's where the money should go this year. And look at this. I'll bring it to the top here. Christian Learning Center of Greenville County. It's actually Christian Learning Centers of Greenville County. They want to give $1.5 million. So that was in the budget when it was proposed. And that seems like a weird thing to propose, because why are you trying to give all that money to a Christian organization, right? And I'm going to show you this site because check out what they say on here. They're not subtle about what they want. This is the website, Greenville County Students. This is the Christian Learning Centers. And if you go down to our mission, I highlighted this. Christian Learning Centers of Greenville County exists to provide biblical instruction to school-age children. Elsewhere on this website, they say, we want to elect Jesus to what? I don't know, but that is what they say. So to be clear, this is an indoctrination camp. It's like a Christian school that wants to indoctrinate kids, which is fine. They have every right to exist. Why do they need $1.5 million from taxpayers? One of the other things the CLC does here is for the past 25 years, they have transported public school children to local churches for 90 minutes a day. 90 minutes a day for a very legal released time program where kids can be indoctrinated into Christianity. That is a legal thing they're allowed to do as long as the school has nothing to do with it, but the school allows those kids to leave campus. So that's this organization. So, again, why do they need all this money? The earmark was sponsored by two Republican lawmakers, Mike Burns and John McCravey, and they're the ones who put it in the budget. Why? Because the Christian Learning Center's CEO made a personal request to South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster. And according to an article in the state newspaper, that money was not going to indoctrination. No, they said they were earmarking it to help purchase 10 acres of land to build a $14 million residential school for disadvantaged and at-risk youth. So to some extent, I might say, you know what? That's a good goal. I'm glad you're trying to help disadvantaged and at-risk kids. But let's be honest, we are not talking about a group of Christians trying to help kids in need. Their primary purpose is to indoctrinate kids. They say that right up front on the website. So everything else they're trying to help with is secondary. So for that reason, this gift to a faith-based institution was illegal. And so it seemed like they were violating the state constitution, which forbids any state money going to faith-based institutions. That's what law experts said. That's what constitutional experts said. But that is what they were trying to do. By the way, Henry McMaster, the governor of the state, ran into the same problem in 2020 because he got all that money for COVID relief. He wanted to use $32 million of that money to pay for vouchers to private religious schools. And judges in South Carolina, the Supreme Court, unanimously said you can't do that because the state constitution says public funding cannot be used for any religious or other private educational institution. So they shot that idea down. So you would think, by the same logic, the same law that says you can't use public funds for religious institutions, that they would not be allowed to give $1.5 million to this school, right? So for that reason, sometime last September, the Freedom from Religion Foundation decided to file a lawsuit with 4 plaintiffs in South Carolina. They filed a lawsuit against this new budget, and they said, look, the state constitution says you can't do it, so that's it. That's pretty much all it takes. What are you doing here? Here's the part I want to show you. Due to the state's $1.5 million award to a local Christian education institution, the plaintiffs, who identify as atheists, agnostics, or secular humanists, feel like outsiders in the community, FFRF contends. They do not wish to subsidize any religious groups that indoctrinate students, including Christian learning centers, and the defendant's financial appropriation directly contravenes the South Carolina Constitution. So they were asking for a judgment, say that it's illegal, and give us attorney's fees and all that stuff. So I was hoping that lawsuit would work. I wasn't sure what happened to it for a while there. And then this week, guess what? We got an update on this case. And it's not that a court said, yeah, you're right, this is absolutely illegal, we're going to strike it down. Because what happened along the way is that all the defendants involved said, you can't sue us for this. Governor Henry McMaster was in the lawsuit. He was one of the defendants. He said, you can't sue me because taxpayers aren't allowed to sue me because they don't like what I do, which is true on that basis. He also said his decision to sign or veto legislation is protected by legislative immunity, which is weird because a governor doesn't have the right to just sign a law that goes against the Constitution. So I don't get that at all. Here's another interesting thing. On the same day that an officer of the Christian Learning Centers was supposed to give a deposition in the case, guess what the Christian Learning Centers did? They said to the government, you know what? We don't want your money anymore. They actually voted, the board of that CLC, they voted to abandon the plans and withdraw the request for the $1.5 million. And because of that, they avoided giving any depositions and telling more truths about what was happening here. But because they withdrew the request for the $1.5 million, that's what brings us to the new update in this case. Because what happened? The lawsuit ended. The judge just threw it out. That's what happened here. Was there any? Yeah. And what FFRF said is that no order from the court declaring the appropriation unconstitutional would have been the ideal resolution. It's still a win for FFRF and its plaintiffs because an unconstitutional appropriation to a private religious organization to expand its mission of religious education was stopped. Or to put that more simply, the judge said, listen, if they're not asking for the $1.5 million anymore, there's nothing to file a lawsuit about, so I don't need to rule on any of the specifics, on any of the merits. And maybe he's right about that. But it does mean the only reason this Christian organization is not getting $1.5 million is because a handful of atheists said, we're going to file a lawsuit to stop you from getting it. And before they had to tell a court all the realities about how that happened and all those secrets about, like, here's who we talked to in the government, they withdrew their request. The judge tossed out the lawsuit. So it's a happy ending. There's no money going to that organization from the state. But because this case wasn't ruled on the merits, there's nothing stopping them from trying again in the future. Maybe they'll try next time under a different name that doesn't have the word Christian in it. And maybe it's harder to spot because who's reading like a several 100-page budget document? You know what I mean? So it's good news, but I feel like this story isn't done just yet.